Hi there, Monique here, and I help you have easier conversations with the people who drive you crazy. So today for International Women's Day, I'm actually going to talk about a really serious topic. I'm going to share 8 scary signs that you or someone you care about might be a victim of conjugal violence. And so I do encourage you to share this widely. Now, as a former crisis interventionist, I have worked in 2 different women's shelters, and the first one was way back in 1985. Now, things are getting better, I'll tell you that much, but it is slow. And whatever changes that you have to make in your life, whether they be small or large, it always starts with information, which is why I like sharing things I've learned over the years. What I'm going to share with you is something that I shared with clients who would come to the shelter. Here's the biggest problem with people who are involved in conjugal violence. And the thing is that they are in an intimate relationship. And because it's an intimate relationship, they find themselves making a lot of excuses for the person that they care about, and they don't always see that they are actually in trouble. So, of course, when someone gets a black eye, we recognize conjugal violence. It's pretty obvious. But reading this wheel of power and control, I'll let you know what they are, what the opposite is, so that we know if we're making excuses. Number 1 is when someone uses intimidation, and that's when a person is making the other person afraid by using looks, gestures. They might start hitting the wall. They destroy the other person's property. They might abuse their pets. That's something they like to do because it really displays power over them. And they might even display their weapons. So the opposite of that, if we're not in the wheel of power and control, we're actually living in equality and nonviolence, then that person uses actions that feel safe. They talk and act so that everybody feels safe and that we can all have a different say. And the actions and the looks are respectful and are not in any way intimidating. So the second clue or sign that you may be in an abusive relationship is they use emotional abuse. And that would be things like putting the person down, making them feel bad about themselves, calling them names, making them think that they're crazy. They play mind games. They humiliate the person, or they make them feel guilty. Now, the opposite of that when we're in an equal relationship is when there's mutual respect. So when we listen to the other person without judgment, where we're able to understand and validate where they're coming from, we value them as people, and we value their ideas. So the opposite of using emotional abuse is having respect for one another. And the third one is where we use isolation. And this one I've seen often. When we are controlling what the other person does, who she sees, who they talk to, what they read, where they go, limiting outside involvement. You'll see abusers will create a division with their best friends or with their parents and their family, and they really, they say, "I need you. Let's be in this together." And it's a gradual erosion of all their favorite hobbies, their everything, and all of a sudden they're just doing what this person wants instead. So it becomes pretty clear. I had one person that she couldn't go anywhere, that her phone would ring. Her husband was always asking, "Where are you? Who are you with?" It was clear. She ended up living on my couch for a while and eventually left him. He had become physically abusive, and that's when she said, "I can't do this anymore." So the opposite of using isolation is when we have trust and support, and we actually make the other person feel good about their goals in life, and we respect them, and we give them a right to their own feelings, to their own friends, to their own activities, to their own ideas. Number 4 is when someone is minimizing, denying, and blaming. So it's like something happened and that person's just making light of it. "Oh, you're exaggerating." They don't take it seriously, or they might just say that didn't even happen. You're imagining it. Or they shift the responsibility, basically saying, "Look what you made me do," and blaming the person who is the victim as opposed to taking responsibility. The opposite of minimizing, denying, and blaming others is being honest. It means that we can all make a mistake, we can all get angry or say something wrong or say something that was really cruel, and we have to accept our responsibility. So the opposite would be honesty, accepting our responsibility for ourselves, admitting any violence in the past, saying we were wrong, and really making amends. So we have to speak openly, we have to speak the truth. So the fifth one, a sign, is if you have children, that your partner is using your children, and it might be making you feel guilty about your kids, using the kids to relay messages. When we're in a power and control dynamic, if somebody wants to, get back to their partner, they'll send the kids with messages instead of having a real conversation. And if you're separated from that person, they might use the visitation to harass the other person, or they might threaten to take the kids away. The opposite of that, when there's equality, is where we're both good parents. So we share the job of parenting, we share the job of co-parenting, whether we're together or not, and we become the role model for our children. If we're the dad, we become the role model to our sons on how to be a good man, and we become the role model to our daughters on how a good man treats you, and vice versa, where women are honest and they show their daughters that they're strong and they're respectful and they're honest and they're able to get out into the world. So in equality, we model that to our children. And the sixth one is where we use male privilege. And that's when we treat the other person like a servant, making all the big decisions, acting like the master of the castle, and being the one to define the roles in the family. But that's in the power and control, one person's making those decisions, but in the equality one, it's shared work. It's replaced by shared work. So there is no male privilege there. We agree together on how to divide the work fairly, and we make the family decisions together. The seventh one is using economic abuse. Now, this one is very, very big in conjugal violence. We prevent, men will often prevent them from getting or keeping a job, or they will control all the money. They'll say, you have to give me the money. They give them an allowance. They don't talk about money. They don't even let them know where the money is or have access to a family income. That's one of the, they just keep them in the dark. Say, it's okay, I'm taking care of everything. So that's not a good sign. In a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship, money is shared, and especially the money-making decisions, everything is shared. We make sure both of you share the good and the bad of money and its problems. That's what equality is. It means that we share the good and the bad. And the last one is where we use coercion and threats to the other person. So that's like making and carrying out threats to do something to hurt them, threatening to leave them. I've had someone threaten to commit suicide. If you do this, I'll kill myself. So there's a lot of manipulation in there. Obviously, the opposite of that is just it's fairness and equality. We look for ways to solve our problems. We accept change. We are willing to give and take. We certainly don't accept to be coercive or to receive any kind of threats. So that's the opposite. This is a really powerful tool if someone is saying, no, I'm fine. He's just, he's passionate. It's his culture or whatever. I beg to differ. And sometimes just by seeing it black and white, we can really see the difference. So that's it. 8 signs that you or someone you love might be a victim of conjugal violence. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think people are actually becoming more knowledgeable about what constitutes conjugal violence? Do they know how to change their relationships? I'd love to hear from you. And if you yourself are looking for a coach, if you are ready to take your personal power back in your personal life, in your professional life, I'd love to have a discovery call with you. And what we do is we explore a topic of your choosing in order to understand whether we're a fit or not. And so if you're ready to feel less anxious, more confident, and have better outcomes in your relationships, then grab a spot on my scheduler, which you'll see in the description of this video. And of course, if you have any questions about that and you want to just shoot me an email, I'd love to help you with that. So until we speak again, wishing you self-empowerment in every way. Bye.